Well, Stillwater's got a town and gown relationship here. We've had the gown, Darren Shrum, Provost Mendez. Now we got the town, Mayor Will Joyce. Mayor, thank you for joining us today, and we're really excited for this.
Happy to be here, Bertie.
We were talking off air before we started. It feels like to me, at least, as far as the spotlight, what's going on, city issues have kind of tampered down. Not a whole lot of COVID stuff, not a lot of this and that. So let me just ask you, what is going on at the city of Stillwater right now?
It's a great question. I mean, there's a ton going on, but you're right. It's not the visibility that we had maybe the last couple of years during COVID, where we were dealing with all of those issues. But the normal activity of the city, the normal activity of city government, whether it's transportation, economic development, water, we've actually got a bunch of water stuff going on today. All of those sort of core services are very busy, and we're working really hard to keep them up and going.
Yeah. Let's start with transportation. Perkins Road project. Can you give us an update on that?
It's on schedule. It's a little ahead of schedule. So the ODOT crews, so Perkins Road, State Highway, Oklahoma Department of Transportation is the lead construction group on that project. They've been ahead of schedule. They were able to get all 4 lanes of the road open before football season and kind of the peak travel season here in Stillwater. So now they're working on the west side, getting the drainage and all that sort of stuff installed, so that then they can replace the 2 lanes on the west side of the road. And another year or so still to go on that project, but it is a little bit ahead of schedule right now.
And how much say do you guys have over that, considering it is ODOT? Can they just come in and just dictate whatever they want? Where's the relationship there?
Yeah.
I hear a big huff.
It's a good relationship. We certainly talk every day about the project, but there have been some times just over the last couple months where certain things have happened that just kind of happened. And, I actually was on Twitter and somebody put up a picture and said, hey, why is McElroy closed? And I said, I didn't know it was. I texted the city manager. We didn't know they were closing McElroy today. So, some of that has come up last second. It's been a good, communication that's happened, and we keep in touch with them very closely. But, it's a major construction project.
Yeah.
You can't necessarily anticipate everything that's going to happen from their side of things, and they've got to make decisions and try to keep, ahead of the schedule and that sort of thing. So, it's been good, but there are certainly some surprises that have come up.
We're not trying to put you on the spot. We understand you have to crack some eggs to make an omelet, but I gotta imagine you've heard some complaints from Dutch Bros, Chick-fil-A, all those places over in Hobby Lobby. What are you hearing from them?
Yeah, I mean, we've had some questions and concerns from folks that their traffic's down because it's harder to get over to that part of town, and we certainly understand that. Unfortunately there's not a whole lot that can be done other than communicating well with the community about when things are going to be open, when things are going to be closed, trying to keep those disruptions to a minimum, and really just letting people understand what's happening so that they can plan around it. But for the most part, the disruptions haven't been, the road hasn't been closed, right? The road's been open the whole time. And honestly, traffic on North Perkins Road before this construction started was something that a lot of us who live here in Stillwater would avoid in a general,
Exactly.
in any kind of normal day. So, I think there have been certainly some issues, but we've tried to just communicate well and let people know this is what's going to be open, this is what's going to be closed, and try to keep them abreast of the situation.
Yeah, sure. You say that the most questions you get is about the road, so anything other on the horizon going on right now other than Perkins Road as far as construction?
Well, we've got several city projects, right? So we talked about how Perkins Road's an ODOT project, but we've got 2 bridges under construction right now that are city projects. Husband Street Bridge right behind the high school.
That's right.
Familiar. That's kind of an out of the way, unless you're coming to and from the high school on a regular basis or you live in that area, you may not see that bridge. That's unfortunately had some delays with it due to some engineering missteps early in the process by some of our contractors, and so we're a little behind schedule on that one. The 3rd Street Bridge right at Perkins and 3rd, next to the city utilities facility there. That one's out, being reconstructed. That's been on our list for a long time, but that bridge is totally demolished right now and being rebuilt. So those are 2 major projects we've got going right now. And then our normal pavement management program, every year we do, to now we've done about $4 million worth of projects every year just in repaving and kind of maintenance sorts of projects. Now with our new increase in sales tax, that'll be about $8 million a year worth of projects we're able to do.
I may regret giving away this secret, but if you're over at Red Rock or Food Pyramid and you're trying to get over to Academy of the neighborhood Walmarts, Husband is a really nice road that'll spit you out right over there on the side of Boomer Lake instead of having to go all the way around the high school to get over there.
It doesn't right now.
Exactly. You can't do that today. So, I drove over there and I see this humongous hole.
Yep.
What was the point? Was it just time? Was there what's the point?
What's the problem right now?
Yes.
So we had an engineering firm that came in to do the depth to figure out how deep we had to dig footings for that new bridge. So the bridge needed to be replaced, right? An old bridge, I think 40 years old. So it was time for that bridge to be replaced. We had to figure out how deep we had to plant the concrete pilings to reach the bedrock. So you bring an engineering firm, they drill core samples down to figure out where the rocks are. And that figure ended up being about 20 or 30 feet too shallow. And so when we went to actually put those things in, the bedrock wasn't where we thought it was. And so it required a redesign. And unfortunately, when you're doing public work, you don't just get to say, oh, okay, it's another couple $1,000,000, we'll throw it in there. You've got to go back out to bid. You've got to go back out through a public process. And so it adds a whole lot more time than a private project would see. So unfortunately, that's where we are. And, we'll be dealing with the extra costs through the legal department. But unfortunately, there's no way around the fact that it just takes more time.
Yeah.
So it'll be early next spring, probably before that project's done.
So the upcoming March or a year from March-ish? Are you like when baseball season starts, is that road going to be open?
I really hope so.
That's the plan.
That's the plan.
Okay.
Early 2023 should be done.
Well, enough about roads. You got to use them to get to all these new businesses, though.
Absolutely.
HTO over in the former Firo Pizza location, the Surf Bar over in the former Simple Simons location, a new kind of spin on Ted's. What's going on as far as development? You can speak on those. Anything else that we don't know about?
There's just an amazing amount of new stuff coming into town. We've seen the ones you just mentioned for sure. Those are just businesses that said, "Hey, this is Stillwater's where we want to be." Those haven't been projects that we've gone out and had to attract or incentivize or try to go hunt them down and bring them to town. Those have been folks who said, this is a community that we think we'd be able to thrive in, and they found locations. And it's always great to see existing locations get rebooted and turned around and turned into something else. The TEDS project is one I'm really excited about. Certainly, folks locally have been looking for the opportunity to have a TEDS. This is their smaller kind of cantina concept. I've been to the one in Oklahoma City, though. It's fantastic. And that's been we've got supply chains and that sort of thing. That's taken a little longer than they'd hoped, but I keep reaching out to them and they keep saying, yep, it's still going. We're still working on it. So hopefully here in the next couple months or so, they should be up and going. We've got some other much bigger projects that we did, that we have done more of that sort of go out and incentivize and try to figure out how do we get those things here. Our Boomer Lake power plant redevelopment. So the old power plant that sits on the south edge of Boomer Lake is being redeveloped. There's going to be some condos built to the north of it, and then a brewery and a restaurant put into the old power plant itself, and kind of that industrial redevelopment. So that building will stay where it is. A lot of the equipment will actually stay in it and just sort of be decor for a brewery and restaurant. We'll have a rooftop element, so you can get up on top of the roof of that. It's about 6 or 7 stories up. Beautiful views from up there at the lake. So lots of great projects. We can talk about. We've got a conference center that's coming in. We've got the new downtown park, the Kicker Amphitheater that's coming in. All of that stuff here within the next 12 to 18 months or so should be up and running.
Still no target.
Still no target. Not for lack of trying. I promise.
I had to throw that one in there.
No, it's that's one of those that as soon as they feel like this community can support it,
we will gladly have them.
They're aware that we exist. Conversations have been had, and as soon as it makes sense, Target's not building any suburban stores right now.
Yeah.
Any of those kind of big box stores, they haven't in a while. They're focused on their smaller footprint, kind of what they consider an urban footprint sort of a store, but they've put them in a lot of college towns on the edge of campuses, and so they know we're ready as soon as they want to move.
Exactly. I tell people all the time, I remember living in Stillwater when there was no Chick-fil-A and one Walmart. Now we've got all these great acai bowl places, all these like nutritional teas. I mean, it feels like we've really kind of arrived and we're still going further. People can say, oh, it's because of OSU. What's the reason that Stillwater's gone from zero to hero so recently and quickly?
It's a good question, but it's one that's really kind of tough to define. About what exactly it is. Certainly, OSU has grown. This year is the largest freshman class in history. We've hit that milestone a few years over the last decade or so, where we've seen growth in the student population here in Stillwater. I think you're seeing one of the things we're doing right now is remote worker attraction. So there's a lot of folks like I was. So I graduated from OSU in 2001. Moved to St. Louis to go to law school, lived in St. Louis for 10 years, and for 5 or 6 of those years, I was trying to find a job in Stillwater, right? I wanted to come back, just couldn't find the job that I needed to be able to come back here in Stillwater. And I know there are a lot of other alumni or young professionals out there who spent time in Stillwater, love it, would love to be here. And with the current ability of remote working, we're seeing a lot more of those folks saying, well, hey, I can keep my job in Dallas or in Kansas City or in San Francisco or New York, and I can go back and live in Stillwater and work remotely from Stillwater. We've actually seen somewhere around 12 to 13 new remote work families come into town with an average pay of over $100,000 of those folks now living and working from Stillwater in jobs that exist other places. And that's actually, I think, something that we're going to see a lot more of, and something that brings a lot more consumers, a lot more taxpayers, more families, more people who want to go out and do these things to our community without actually having to attract the employer to bring their whole business here. And so that's something that I think has really had an effect on our ability to grow.
That's funny you said that. Last year, I won't name names, but it's someone you and I both know, said that as soon as their company says you guys can go remote, they're coming to Stillwater in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that sentiment you've heard a lot.
Absolutely. I think that's something from my generation of folks who graduated here 20 years ago, that have talked about, right, we love Stillwater, we'd love to be in Stillwater if there were opportunities here for us that we could survive on or raise our family on or whatever, that fit, your career path. And now that concern has changed almost entirely because there are so many more employers because of the pandemic have said, well, actually, if you want to work remotely, that works for us too.
Yeah.
In some cases, it saves them money to have folks other places. And so we're going to push that a lot. We're pushing it now, and we think we can attract a lot of folks here.
I'll leave you with this. Upcoming election, Congress, Senate, state legislature, anything on this? Is Wed Lake seat up for grabs? What's the rundown?
So our city elections happen in the spring.
Okay.
So all of our city elections actually were, we had a city election in February with one of our city council seats and then our bond issues. And so we'll actually have 2 city council seats that are up for renewal next spring. That's Councilor Jaloski and Councilor Zanotti's seats that are up for their normal re-election cycle. But those elections will be in February, and you'll see filing periods in the 1st of December for those seats.
Okay. Mayor, I could go for another hour, but thank you for the time. We've run out of it. And thanks to Mayor Joyce for stopping by. We'll have another interview for you next week. Thanks for watching The O'Callaghan.